So why don't we talk really quickly, Wei? You want to just set up that scene as simply as you can so we can just sort of talk about how it might work for a self-tape.
It's about this family from Inner Mongolia, and there's three characters, main characters: the mother, the daughter, and the son. And the son has got cancer, but he's afraid of telling his mother, so instead he calls his sister and tells her. But the thing is, the mother was not very close to the daughter and is very close to the son. So that's the basic dynamic.
Just to break down the scene very simply, mother is stacking boxes, daughter says, "Mom." No response from the mother.
If they've already have like a tumultuous relationship, you could say like, "Ma," and then I'm pissed off. I'm like, "Ah, Ma," something like that, you know, like where you leave and come back out, or I don't know.
I have to say that I've actually had to do self-tapes where I don't have any lines. And so this is really important that it shows that you're listening.
So I don't know, I'll step back and I don't have any boxes, but like maybe show more of my back to start. And then sort of when I hear like the first or second "ma," I can look back when I finally acknowledge the daughter.
Just to be honest with your relationship with the mother and how it really feels that she's not responding to you, and you probably know that she is ignoring you, not hearing you.
It's much more to play with than it's a volume issue, right? And so that's an example of, even if it's maybe not in the script, it's going to be a stronger thing to do for a self-tape.
Keeping your eyes down and like not moving forward until she like the mom maybe like looks at you to give like her approval, I guess, to see like she notices you and she's like aware of the situation.
I could make this the whole environment. I could stack boxes around me and make it something and like make the room feel like the room I'm supposed to be in. But I guess if I was thinking about it as a scene, I'd probably want to be like at a diagonal, like away from whichever way Lauren's looking at me, if Lauren was the daughter in this case, and then thinking about moving the boxes around me or maybe bending out of frame a little bit.
Interestingly enough, when you brought it up, the mother and the boxes and not listening, I happen to have a living room, because I live by myself, full of boxes, and I just immediately saw the mother's, I got to get it closer, but I saw the mother's hands, right? And then we switch back to the daughter, and then we can switch when the mother does answer yes, which seemed to be, you know, the apex of that little dyad. Then it could be her face.
I love scenes with kind of the context that you just gave, and mostly the fact that one of the actors is like distracted by something and has to do something. Some of my favorite scenes of all time, like, kind of start with that impetus where somebody's like, you know, where somebody's like trying to find something or trying to like put something together, and then the other character is holding on to that humongous piece of information. It's really like, it's really dramatic. It's really beautiful to me. But I think I would try something along the lines of dividing a room in half, and kind of like using that kind of separated-ish relationship that the daughter and the mother have to kind of make that excuse of having them be on like opposite sides of the room.
As we've been talking, I remember there was repetition in the script. And I think that is kind of cool to switch it up and make those bold choices that we were talking about. Because with the repetition, like, I could move closer to the camera or further away, and it would be the similar dialogue, but I would be able to show myself like acting in a bolder way.
I think for the mom too, because we did talk about her being a lot more distracted, in the way that you would go and mark your physical marks. I think it's important for when you have a character that's a bit not focused or out of focus and distracted, to go through and mark where you're going to be looking when, pardon the truck. So you look distracted, but you aren't like, actually, I don't know where I'm looking. It's like a controlled, unfocused.
The mother could be like over in this sort of tight corner, and then the daughter over here, even like if like up on some sort of furniture, just like
trying to make it more casual than it is, trying to reach her in a way that's easier for her.
And they're maybe talking on the phone with each other, so it's like a remote conversation. And the moment before, the mom maybe senses that something that the daughter wants to tell her, the mom something. So she starts to stack the boxes to distract from bad news that she knows that she's going to hear.
So I guess my first thought was of my mother's own house, which in her bedroom, there's a giant mirror panel. So I was thinking in both cases, like maybe the daughter's like sitting on the toilet or in the tub or something, so that I'm coming from behind, so that we're coming from a behind shot, but we can see them both through the mirrors, so that we get a sort of unself-conscious view of, we're getting just sort of a sneaky thing.
I also love the idea that this is a playground with which to explore, as like that in itself, like the medium is the message, like that is it, like this is the exploration ground. So if, I mean, as a playwright that like any opportunity or any moment that you as a playwright, that an actor makes you realize something new about your script is worth it.
It's a new kind of way to think about like what it means to create something, and then to interpret that creation, and then to reflect upon that creation. I think that, to me, maybe it's just dramaturgical production or whatever it is, but that seems real to me.
I think it demystifies a lot of theater for me personally. And that's like kind of the point for the audience, is like pulling back the curtain, showing, oh, like this is a deeper dive. This is like, this is like ESPN2 of the theater community. We're like getting into it, and we're showing you how kind of it looks from a different perspective. I think that's incredible.
We've done a lot, but it's been a long time that we've been doing online stuff, but also a very short amount of time. And I think there's definitely way more to explore.
Right now, theater's kind of like hard, and you do just like want to play and stuff. And so like, even like having this, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. Come on. But that boldness that we talked about in the beginning, I think it's kind of like, if you have a read through, whatever, it's a read through, but if you're on your feet and like actually doing it right off the bat, it's so much more interesting.
If you don't have anyone else to kind of collaborate with, then you have to be like really disciplined and like, okay, now I'm going to play. And then step 2, now I'm going to watch my play and see what worked, and kind of like be your own collaborator in that way, which is frustrating, but also very important for the work, I think.
Whatever your sight line is, you have to imagine that that's where your scene partner is, right? And you have to imagine that you don't have to just be like this during your self-tape, that, if you have to sit, what do you mean I'm not invited to your party? Like you can move.
The digital space is really great for developing work. And like I've watched a lot of readings, but they're not always like super entertaining. So I think what we talked about today can help make them more entertaining. And like being able to sit through a reading that's 2.5 hours long, watching people on Zoom. Like, I think these dynamics of the backgrounds and moving closer to the camera, like readings I've seen where people do that are far more interesting than people who just sit and read.
If I'm watching an online production, I'm thinking, what am I seeing here that I wouldn't be able to see like through a different medium really, or like that wouldn't really mean as much? I hope that made some sense.
I did it for the 5th time in this entire, like, unmute yourself. But yeah, no, this is such a hard thing to figure out. So like even figuring out what all this stuff means. So no one should ever feel like they're not making sense, because I don't know that any of us ever have made sense since the existence of time.
I'm liberated by the fact that I don't have to make sense, since no one has since the beginning of time. So I just feel, all the pressure's off. I'm really just answering with more questions. I was thinking the exact same thing that Austin was, which is there an angle where there's something to offer here? Because like film, literature, theater, they each have their special sauce that you cannot replicate in any of the other mediums. And here, just in my limited imagination, just beginning to think about this, all I can think about are problems. So I'm thinking about the problem that, on audition is your worst acting usually, because there's no one there. You're pretending. And how do you get a performance better than even a great audition in this weird world if you're filming something like a play?
There's a lot of work to be done for actors to get ourselves kind of out of the mindset of this must be worse because it is in this setting, because voice acting exists and so do radio plays. There are settings where this sort of thing in a different capacity happening. So we kind of need to test the bounds and find where that is.
You know, what you just said was so inspiring. It's like, yeah, I've done absurdist comedy on, you know, for an hour and a half with absolutely nothing. So why do I instantly just think that this is a nightmare? Like, this is great. You could do anything with this. That was awesome to hear.
I'm just thinking, you know, how globally this could serve as a way to like connect companies, you know, from opposite sides of the country, opposite sides of the world.
Thank you. This was so helpful, all of you. Truly, I learned something from everyone. So thank you, thank you.
That was super helpful. Yeah, that could help me revise my play. And yeah, thank you guys.
Excited to try and incorporate this into some of my future self tapes.